Here's an unsettling truth. Your brain lies to you every single day, not out of malice, but out of a deep evolutionary commitment to keeping you alive with the least amount of effort possible. It's a brilliant, lazy, and deeply biased storyteller, constantly editing reality into a narrative that feels safe, coherent, and flattering. You walk around believing you perceive the world as it is, but in reality, you're experiencing a heavily filtered highlights reel. And the director is a paranoid survivalist who hates surprises and loves shortcuts. Think of your mind not as a flawless camera capturing objective truth, but as a sneaky personal assistant who's been with you since the Stone Age. This assistant's primary job isn't accuracy, it's efficiency and emotional regulation. Before you even become consciously aware of a thought or decision, this assistant has already sorted your experiences, tagged memories as good or threatening, filtered out contradictory information, and crafted a story that justifies your existing beliefs. It's the reason you can dismiss a brilliant idea from someone you dislike, or why you're convinced a project will take just a couple of hours, despite a lifelong track record of underestimation. Your assistant isn't trying to sabotage you. It genuinely believes it's helping by saving precious mental calories and shielding your ego. But in a modern world of complex decisions and social nuance, these ancient shortcuts often lead us astray, breeding conflict, stagnation, and anxiety. These mental bugs are known as cognitive biases, systematic patterns of deviation from rationality. They are the invisible architecture of our bad decisions, our stubborn arguments, and our quiet regrets. From the confirmation bias that has us cherry-picking evidence to support our preconceptions, to the sunk cost fallacy that traps us in dead-end endeavors, these tricks operate below the radar of our conscious awareness. We don't feel tricked, we feel certain, righteous, and logical. But this isn't a life sentence to irrationality. Awareness is the first and most powerful step toward cognitive liberty. This exploration isn't about diagnosing flaws, it's about granting you administrator privileges over your own mind. By understanding the 5 most common and impactful ways your brain fabricates your reality, you can learn to spot the glitches in the system, question the automatic narrative, and insert a moment of conscious choice. You can transition from being a passive passenger of your thoughts to becoming an active pilot. Let's debug your mental software, not to become perfectly rational robots, but to reclaim the space between stimulus and response, the space where true choice and true freedom actually live. This isn't a list of interesting psychological trivia. It's a field manual for mental self-defense, a practical toolkit for the moments when your own mind becomes your most persuasive adversary. The goal is a fundamental shift, from being unconsciously run by your biases to consciously working with your brain's wiring. We're moving from theory to practice, from, "Oh, that's why I do that," to "not today, brain." To make this journey effective, each of the 5 mental tricks will be unpacked in a clear, 3-part structure designed for real-world application. 1. The trick. What's happening? We'll name and define the bias in plain language, stripping away academic jargon. You'll get a clear snapshot of the mental sleight of hand at play. 2. The why, your brain's motive. We'll explore the often surprising evolutionary logic behind the trick, understanding why your brain does this, usually to conserve energy, avoid pain, or ensure social belonging, turns frustration into empathy. It's not that you're irrational, it's that you're running ancient software in a modern world. 3. The Outsmart, your counter-strategy. This is the core of the guide. For each bias, you'll receive 1 or 2 concrete, actionable techniques. These aren't vague suggestions like, "be more mindful." They are specific mental maneuvers, like the devil's advocate drill or the future test, that you can deploy in real time when you feel the bias taking hold. The style here is science-backed, but story-driven. We'll use relatable, often humorous examples, from agonizing over a text message to stubbornly finishing a terrible movie, to illuminate these universal glitches. The tone is that of a collaborative coach, recognizing that we're all in this together, prone to the same mental hiccups, and capable of building better habits of thought. Think of this process as building a cognitive immune system. You won't eradicate these biases, they are hardwired features, not bugs you can simply delete. But with practice, you can develop antibodies of awareness. You'll learn to recognize the familiar feel of a bias kicking in, that surge of righteous certainty, that pang of loss aversion, that glow of first impression infallibility. And in that moment of recognition, you create a critical gap. In that gap lies your power to intervene, to question the automatic story, and to choose a more deliberate, more accurate, and ultimately more empowering response. Let's get started. The trick: confirmation bias is your mind's relentless personal publicist, working overtime to ensure your pre-existing beliefs remain the star of the show. It is the subconscious act of seeking, interpreting, favoring, and recalling information in a way that confirms what you already think or feel, while simultaneously ignoring, dismissing, or forgetting evidence that contradicts it. Your brain doesn't present you with an objective news report. It curates a personalized echo chamber where your opinions are always validated. The why, your brain's motive. At its core, confirmation bias is a massive energy-saving scheme for an organ that consumes 20% of your body's resources. Changing your mind is cognitively expensive and emotionally taxing. It requires admitting error, restructuring knowledge, and facing social friction. Your brain, ever the efficiency expert, would rather take shortcuts than undertake a full-scale renovation of your worldview. It's also a defense mechanism for your ego and identity. Your beliefs are intertwined with your sense of self. Questioning them can feel like a personal attack, so your mind acts as a loyal bodyguard, filtering out challenging ideas to preserve your psychological equilibrium and social standing. In our evolutionary past, quick decisions based on existing patterns, right or wrong, were often safer than paralyzing doubt. Real-life example: imagine you have a lukewarm feeling about a new colleague. Your confirmation bias will now scan the environment like a heat-seeking missile for proof. If they're quiet, you think, see, aloof. If they speak up, you note, overcompensating. You'll meticulously log the one time they forget a meeting, but conveniently forget the 5 times they helped you. Your initial hunch, however slight, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, all while you remain convinced you're just being observant. How to outsmart it? You must become an active scientist of your own mind, deliberately seeking disproof. The devil's advocate drill: once a week, formally argue against one of your own strongly held opinions. Write down the 3 best points for the opposing side. The goal isn't to change your mind, but to stretch it and prove you can survive the exercise. Seek the third story. In any conflict or judgment, mentally step out of your own narrative and the other person's. Imagine you are a neutral, compassionate observer, a journalist or a wise friend, with no stake in the outcome. How would that person describe the situation? This technique forcibly widens your perspective beyond your self-justifying story. Practice: consider the opposite. When you feel most certain, pause and ask, what if the opposite were true? Or, what is one piece of evidence that doesn't fit my view? Actively hunting for contradictory data rewires the lazy search engine in your head. By implementing these strategies, you transform from a passive consumer of your biases into an active auditor of your own thinking, building intellectual humility one questioned assumption at a time. The trick: the sunk cost fallacy is the irrational force that compels you to continue investing in a failing endeavor, a relationship, project, stock, or habit, simply because you have already invested significant time, money, or effort into it. It's the mental trap that convinces you that quitting now would mean everything I've put in was a waste. So you double down, hoping to somehow redeem the past expenditure, often leading to even greater losses. The why, your brain's motive. This fallacy is a powerful cocktail of loss aversion and commitment consistency. Your brain is wired to feel the pain of loss more acutely than the pleasure of an equivalent gain. Abandoning a project feels like concretely accepting that loss, triggering immediate emotional pain. By continuing, you delay that painful reckoning. Furthermore, your mind craves consistency to maintain a stable self-image. To quit is to admit a mistake, which creates cognitive dissonance. I am smart, but I made a bad investment. Continuing the failing effort allows you to maintain the narrative that you are a committed, persistent person, even when persistence has become the problem. Real-life example, you've sat through an hour of a painfully boring, poorly made film. Logically, the best choice is to stop and reclaim your remaining evening. Yet a stubborn voice insists, "I've already wasted an hour, I might as well see how it ends." You are now investing another hour not for enjoyment, but to avoid admitting the first hour was lost. The same logic traps people in dead-end careers. "I've spent 10 years in this field." Or toxic relationships. "We've been together for so long." How to outsmart it? You must train your brain to make decisions based on future value, not past costs. The future test question. Strip away history. Ask yourself, if I weren't already involved, knowing what I know now, would I start this today? If the answer is no, you have your answer. The past investment is irrelevant to the present choice. Externalize the decision. Pretend a friend is describing their identical situation to you. What advice would you give them? We are often more rational and compassionate advisors to others than to ourselves, as we aren't emotionally entangled in their sunk costs. Reframe the loss. Instead of "I'm wasting all that time/money", consciously reframe it. "I'm choosing to stop wasting future time/money". The past expenditure is gone, a sunk cost. The only thing you control is the resource-rich future. By quitting, you're not losing your past investment. You're investing your future resources into something more valuable. The trick, negativity bias, is your brain's hyper-vigilant security system, giving far more weight and attention to negative experiences, criticism, threats, failures, and fears than to neutral or positive ones. It's why a single insult can outweigh a dozen compliments, and why you'll replay an awkward moment for years while forgetting countless ordinary pleasant days. The why. Your brain's motive. This is pure evolutionary programming. For our ancestors, missing a potential threat, a predator, a rival, a poisonous berry, meant death, while overlooking a positive, a new fruit patch, was merely a missed opportunity. Your brain is thus wired to scan for, prioritize, and vividly remember dangers. It's a better safe than sorry policy written into your neural circuitry, ensuring survival, but often at the cost of peace and accurate perception. Real-life example. You give a presentation, 5 colleagues praise your work, but one offers mild, constructive criticism. The entire drive home, you ruminate on that one piece of feedback, dissecting its meaning, while the praise fades into background noise. How to outsmart it? You must consciously rebalance the scales. The gratitude audit. Actively counteract the bias. For every negative thought you dwell on, consciously identify and write down 3 specific positive counterpoints from the same situation or day. Set a worry window. Give your brain's threat detector a scheduled outlet. Designate 10 to 15 minutes each day to fully focus on worries. When anxiety pops up outside that window, note it and tell yourself, "I'll address this during my worry window." This contains the spiral. Savor and cement the positive. When good things happen, pause for 20 to 30 seconds. Feel the sensation. Tell someone about it. This helps positive experiences stick in memory, building a more balanced emotional archive.